Welcome to the Huddle Sports Network, where we're breaking boundaries and redefining podcasting. Broadcasting live on 6 different platforms, we're bringing you the latest in sports like never before. Imagine tuning in to real-time discussions, expert analyses, and fan interactions all at your fingertips. Each platform offers a unique experience, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. We're not just sharing stories, we're creating a community of passionate sports enthusiasts. Join us as we dive deep into the evolution of podcasting, where every episode is a chance to engage, debate, and celebrate the world of sports. This is where your voice matters and the game never stops. Welcome to the Huddle Sports Network, where we're breaking boundaries and redefining podcasting. Broadcasting live on 6 different platforms, we're bringing you the latest in sports like never before, where sports passion meets podcasting brilliance. I'm Mike, the Bear fan, and alongside Bill, the Packer fan, and our buddy Ken Catalone, we're bringing you an incredible lineup of 38 diverse podcasters. Each one brings their unique flavor to the table, covering everything from game analysis to behind-the-scenes stories. Imagine diving deep into the minds of experts who live and breathe football, sharing insights that you won't find anywhere else.
And good morning, everyone. It's Friday, January 10th. It's a big day today. It's football time. We got games this week starting tomorrow. We've got coaches being interviewed. The Cowboys are starting to talk about their long-term deal with Mike McCarthy. Well, probably 4 to 5 years, though. The long-term head coaches get, I guess, these days. Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Eric.
You think
We even have Joe Rogan in the house this morning. No, that's not a Notre Dame hat he's wearing. Good morning, Joey.
But I am a Notre Dame fan, though.
Yeah.
In college, when it comes to college ball, I like Cal and Notre Dame. I always have.
Did you see their head coaches?
But Cal is my crappy team that I like them because they're my local team, and but like I've loved Notre Dame since I watched Rudy when I was a kid.
What's up, Michael?
Good morning, Dwayne.
And Notre Dame is going to the national championship. Let's not,
So did you?
We'll see what happens this time,
Did
man.
you see his interview? Their head
Rudy.
coach's interview. Hold on a second. I'll wait. All right.
Marcus
Did
Freeman.
you see his post-game interview with ESPN? So with a big bowl of oranges, and he. I would tell you what, this guy is popping up on NFL radars. I've seen a couple articles now where NFL teams are interested. Yeah, he just signed an extension 2 weeks ago with Notre Dame, but this is the NFL. Like that matters. Like we haven't seen that before. A coach signs a contract or an extension with a college program to bolt to the NFL because that's the ultimate dream for some of these guys. She asked him, asked him, "Oh, you're the first black head coach." He's like, he didn't even bite. He's like, "I'm not playing the race game, man. This is about the team, it's about the players." It's just, I mean, the dude answered the question like, I wish like every coach would answer that question. It's like
he answered the question like a politician would answer the question, but except that it was genuine. Like he actually meant what he was saying, and like. I totally agree with you. I noticed that right away. He refused to take the race bait, and then he basically just said, "Look, the focus shouldn't be on me anyway. It's about what these guys have accomplished this season. Let's keep the focus on the team and what they've done. And if it means that more minorities are going to get opportunities, great. Like more great football coaches are going to get opportunities, great."
Even when he said that, he's like,
even when
he said that.
He even threw in white people too.
Yeah,
He said,
I was like, he included white people, and I'm surprised like some of the political types to pick up on this. Well, they're not minorities. Oh, they kind of are now. It was funny because he just best answer I've heard in sport, with that kind of question. Because then you got guys like RG3 doing all the race baiting things on X, and you're like, dude, no wonder why you can't get a job anywhere if you just got fired from Netflix. And this guy is being looked at to be a head coach. It's like, just talk football. It's like, I hate in the NFL they do that too. Like the Rooney Rule is stupid. At this point, they need to get rid of it, right? Because no one No one actually follows it. And let's be honest. Does it? They'll interview.
Well, they follow it because they have to, but they don't follow the intent of the rule. Like they just satisfy the requirements,
okay,
right?
We talked to this individual, we checked the block, and now you create situations like Flores. Well, you only interviewed me because of the Rooney Rule, and what's New York going to say? Yeah, I mean, of course he did. I mean, that's not your fault, Flores. I get it. Blame the NFL and the NFLPA for it. It's like New York had to. I mean, they already knew they had their guy, but they had no choice. They had to hire. They had to interview someone, and you happen to be available. I mean, I just wish they'd get rid of it in sports. I mean, what's next? Are we going to mandate? And I think we are getting away from it, but are we going to mandate what percentage of your roster is Samoan? You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I think the Rooney Rule, when it was installed, I think it was a good idea. Because like, let's be honest, if there wasn't a problem with minority coaches not getting opportunities, you wouldn't need the Rooney Rule. Like, there was unfortunately a time in football when minority coaches were looked at like minority quarterbacks were looked at, but the game has evolved past that. I think people are at the point now. It's like, I would say a majority of the NFL quarterbacks, if not half of them, are minority quarterbacks. Like, the coaches, it's still not quite that way, but there's a whole lot more minority head coaches and coordinators.
Does anyone know? Remember when the Rooney Rule was enacted? Was that like at least 20 years ago, wasn't it?
More than that, probably. I think it was in the early 90s.
Was somewhere in the 90s.
You know what? I know who will know. I downloaded Grok last night, the new Grok app. When was the rule?
But I said that to say that basically I think the Rooney Rule has fulfilled its purpose. I think that minority coaches are looked at much differently nowadays, just like minority quarterbacks. Because, I mean, come on, like, and if you've been an NFL fan and you're 40 years old, like I'm 42, and I can remember the time, like, when you had like Cordell Stewart and stuff, and the stigma that came with black quarterbacks, like the stereotypes about black quarterbacks, like, oh, they can't handle the mental side of the game, like they can only run, they're not accurate passers, like, and then Donovan McNabb sort of started to change that narrative a bit, but now it's like, I think the narrative has changed. I think people understand that, anybody that can play quarterback, and anybody that can coach can coach.
2003 is when the Rooney Rule was enacted.
Oh, really? That long?
Really?
Yep.
It's been around.
I thought it was
years
longer
now.
than
I mean, you see a league now. It's like you mentioned, like with black quarterbacks, and now almost, I would say, the majority of the starting quarterbacks in the league are probably black. I don't think they're. I mean, or it's a pretty good mix. Probably close to 50-50, somewhere around there. I mean, I think like race in the league is pretty diverse. In the coaching trees, it's pretty diverse. We got women coaches now, filtering into the system. We got females who are coaching. We got females who are officiating of all different races. It's just a matter of time before we get a first female OC, DC, or head coach. Right? It's gonna happen.
That's what I was actually just thinking, is I wonder when they're going to make the Rooney Rule that you have to like interview 2 women for the head coach position. Trust me, it's going to happen.
I mean,
like,
we've had a couple.
Women will eventually figure it out. Like, hey, the Rooney Rule got minorities' foot in the door. Like, we need to have a female version of the Rooney Rule. Like, it's just a matter of time.
With the Bears this last season, or last 2 seasons, our assistant running back coach, was a female, obviously. And she's a good coach, and the players like really listen to her. I'm like, and she's not the only one. With San Francisco has had a female head coach, female coach. It's just a matter of time. So I think these rules are starting to get to the point where the NFL just needs to strip them out, because owners are going to hire talent, GMs are going to hire talent. If you're talented, they're already showing they don't really give a rat's ass what you want. And that's what I loved about the Notre Dame head coach yesterday with the ESPN thing. He's like, dude, it's not about that. It's about this team. It's about the talent on the team. It's about the players. It's not about my racial background. like, does my racial background help me call plays or design, coach a team or design? No, it doesn't. I mean, like, that stuff does not need to be in sports. I mean, it just doesn't, not in the way that they've instituted it. It's just like, but his answer, I thought,
Yeah, I thought it was a very classy move on his part to not take the bait and to keep the focus on the team. And let's hope that Notre Dame gives either Texas or Ohio State a good game, and hopefully they can win. I'm rooting for them.
yeah, I don't really want.
Especially because my beanie is Napa Indians. We have the same colors as Notre Dame. Like, actually, our uniforms were blue and gold like Notre Dame's. So.
Yeah, so Dwayne, I guess we'll get into some of that stuff in the offseason. Like, we'll talk about after a full season, the playoffs and the Super Bowl, because there's still a lot of crap that can happen. We'll start talking about some of the new rules from this year, like the dynamic kickoff. For sure.
Did you see that the Raiders fired their GM yesterday?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Who did?
Tom Telesco is gone.
So
I'm not sure how to feel about that. Like, he had a really good draft, but his free agency was a little bit. I mean, he got Wilkins, but Wilkins got hurt. He got Minshew. Like, it was a little lackluster.
like with Minshew, though, like, okay, I mean, to hindsight being 2020 with Minshew, even all of us were like, well, he just took the Colts to the playoffs. You guys are going to be okay with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I thought he was decent. Yeah.
Maybe your coach didn't know how to use
You're
it.
right. Even I was on that boat of like, well, let's see what happens, right? But
Yeah.
my thing is now, like, in hindsight, as you said, people are looking at it and they're like, that becomes a black mark on his tenure with the Raiders. They're like, he brought in Minshew, and we saw how that turned out.
Flipped
So
that shit quick, didn't they?
You know what I really wish they would do?
I don't think necessarily Telesco deserved to get fired, but it's indicative of something bigger going on in the building. Like, the speculation is that Brady is the one that made the decision to, and of course Mark Davis was in on the decision, but Brady, basically Mark Davis listened to Brady, and Brady feels that it's better to hire your coach and your GM together. They have more synergy, and that they're going. And there's also a rumor that either one or more of the coaching candidates that the Raiders are looking at wanted to have their GM or a GM that they know, and so the Raiders were willing to make that concession in order to land a top flight coach. And the rumor is, according to Vinny Bonsignor, who's like, he's pretty much like the Raiders' mouthpiece. When the Raiders do release information, they usually release it through Vinny. Is that Pete Carroll is like the guy to watch. He's interviewing with them next week, but the rumor is that Pete Carroll is.
I've been hearing a bunch of rumors about it that Pete Carroll's really interested in that Raiders job.
There's an interesting comment though you made, Joe, that kind of like, really, is there synergy? So, because they say, well, when you hire the GM and the coach at the same time, there's a synergy. Okay, I could, if that GM is part of the coaching search, right, and then the process, I understand. I think I would agree with that. But let's go to the Ryan Poles situation. He gets hired on a Monday, and on Wednesday they hire a coach. And like, Ryan Poles did not really, he technically signed the contract, so he hired Eberflus, but he had zero part to do with the search. And at best, he was given, by one or two reports you may hear, given a list of 3 names, said, here, pick one of these 3 names to be the head coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of, I mean, and he wanted, supposedly, again, I'm not sure about the accuracy of reporting, but supposedly, he wanted Flus gone at the end of last year. So I don't know if you hire them together. I don't really know.
So you're right. I agree with you.
Both the new guy.
I agree with you that it doesn't automatically create synergy, but what they're talking about something a little different, which is not it. When I say hiring them at the same time, it's more than just hiring a guy and then hiring them at the same time. It's like they're talking about basically poaching another team's assistant GM or GM with that coach. So, like, let's say if Ben Johnson was to come to the Raiders, they're talking about Agnew the assistant GM coming with him. So they already have an established relationship, basically, is what that's what I mean when I say.
I mean,
and that's what Brady is trying to do. I don't know if I agree with that. Like, but I didn't win 7 Super Bowls, so you know what? I'll trust Tom Brady. And
I agree with the concept of them trying to find 2 guys that I mean, they're both working. They do work a different position, but they get along enough to where they cure. I mean, finding 2 guys like that's probably the way to go. I mean, honestly, I don't know what's better, to pick a GM and let him pick a coach, or pick a coach and then I mean, but to me, the fact that they even want to do that makes me want to play there. You know what I mean?
Look at the universe, Green Bay. I mean, Goody was there. He picked the head coach. They didn't come in together. It wasn't that situation. And look, it works good there. Look at
I'm sure
every other team in the league where. I mean, I think you can make an argument either way, because for every you can say, okay, but look at Green Bay. They're a great example. They usually put up a winning record every year. They have. It doesn't appear that there's dysfunction between head coach and GM, or look at a lot of other places. I guess you could look at where the GM was already there, and that GM actually hired the head coach himself, did the interview processes and hired the coach, and then you've got the situations where a head coach and a GM are hired at the same time, but the GM really didn't have much to do with the head coach hiring. Some of those work great, some of those don't work. I think that it's almost like the draft. It's almost like a little bit of a crapshoot in that regard. And I get where Brady's at. He's like trying to mitigate the crapshoot. And his feeling is, look, if I get Joe Brady, or if I get Ben Johnson and his current assistant GM, if he wants them to come along, that means they probably already have a good working relationship to some degree. But then the problem is, does the coach have Rex Ryan control from back in the day? Like, is that a point there where the working relationship, you're the GM, but you're only the GM because I said so. And how effective or ineffective does that make the GM in that relationship?
I agree. I also think part of the Telesco firing is that they didn't trust him to hire a head coach. Like, if you look at Telesco's history of head coaches, it's not stellar. So I think that played a part in it, where they're like, are we going to let this guy, even though he got us a good draft, are we going to let him stay and pick our next coach? And Brady was like, nah.
I mean, some guys are great player personnel guys. Some guys are great, good at finding coaches, but not so great at drafting talent. Some guys, it's like some guys are great coordinators and just bad head coaches. I mean, some guys are good at both. We'll find out about Bowles. This is his first foray into a head coach. I mean, it might be an asterisk next to this one for him because there's so many good head coaches out there. So if he hires like a Carroll or Vrabel, it's like, if Vrabel or Carroll were to come to Chicago and not work out, you can't really say that Bowles picked a bad coach. Something else probably went wrong, because they are good coaches. We all know they're good coaches. I just find it interesting, though, like some of the argumentation that we get for this synergy is like, dude, for over 100 years in the NFL, you didn't need this synergy for teams to be good. It's like the GM was the GM. Like, I didn't understand the question a reporter asked George McCaskey last week. Well, coaches need to know what the chain of command is. And McCaskey gave him that look like, are you fucking stupid? You guys, like, let me see. The head coach reports to the GM reports to the president of football operations, Kevin Warren. Kevin Warren reports to ownership. It's it's vertical. It's really not that hard. Yeah, but who are they going to be reporting to? The head coach reports to the GM. The GM, it's like, come on, guys. Like, how stupid can we really be? It's like, some things just happen.
Isaac, hey, that's kind of how I envisioned it. Isaac is like, Telesco walked into his office and it was already packed up, and Brady had his feet up on his desk. Like, hey, Tom, you got a minute? Have a seat.
Let me try to find something for you guys, a piece of media that I'll have to share from my X account. It's probably going to have some political tags on it, so ignore that. But I think for what we're talking, it's like perfect. And just like, you'll just have to change out names like for Brady and stuff in your head. But let me see if I can find it. I know I posted it near the election. But it's I just gotta find it and then I'll pull it up for you guys. And this is gonna be Brady coming into.
Personally, I'm excited about the direction. Like, when Tom Brady bought a part of the Raiders, like, there's only one reason Tom Brady became a minority owner in the Raiders, in my opinion, and that's because Mark has no heirs, and he's looking for somebody. Like, Mark's not going to live forever, and he's looking for somebody that's going to take over the team when he dies, and he wants to make sure that he leaves it in good hands. And so I think he's like, let's see what Brady can do. I'm being dead serious with you. I fully expect that when Mark either retires or becomes too old to run the team, that Brady will get a private equity group together and he will purchase the Raiders from Mark Davis.
Get what you're saying, Joe, but what I'm smiling about is how Brady went from one of the most hated players to Raiders fans from that Tuck rule to now he might be the Raiders savior.
Bro.
Oh, hey, look, there is still quite a bit of saltiness in Raider Nation about that, but it's come to the point where the Raider fans are like, you know what? We just want to win, dude. And if Tom Brady helps us to win, then the Tuck rule is forgiven. Like, we're willing to get behind it.
You're willing to sell your soul to the devil for a Super Bowl ring,
bro. If Tom Brady gets us a Super Bowl, I'll buy his jersey and wear it. I'll have a special custom Brady jersey made.
What's up, Phillip?
And I'll wear it.
What the fuck?
Damn, Joe. That easy, huh? Just for a Super Bowl? You sell your soul. Sell your soul.
Rob, I was 1 year old when the Raiders won their last Super Bowl. I'm not old enough to remember it. I want to see one before I die, dude. Just one.
But you can't sell your soul, man.
No, but it's not selling your soul. If the guy is like, he wanted to come here, he obviously doesn't have any sort of animosity towards the Raiders. We have animosity towards him for a decision ultimately that he didn't get to make.
He's not the referee if he saves you guys, they'll put his name on a Raider jersey, and then it'll at least be a Brady jersey.
Dude, if he wins us a Super Bowl, they could put a statue of him in front of Allegiant Stadium. I don't care.
Bro, they probably won't do that. There'll be too many guys like you standing there jerking off all day.
They'll be kissing the feet of the statue like Catholics, like putting flowers in their hands, like bless that's Mr. Brady. No, dude, like I trust him. I trust him. I think he, at the very least, he's going to take the Raiders in a different direction than we've been going for the last 20 years. And I'm curious to see what that direction is and how it turns out. At least it's at least we're not doing the same thing over and over and over again anymore. It's like there's actually going to be some kind of change that takes place, and
either that or he bought some ownership to finally bury the Raiders down. He says, "All right, there you go. Here's one less fuck you. Your franchise is gone."
Yeah, I never said I was going to sell my soul. Like that's a little much, but I did say I would wear a Brady jersey.
What would Brady's Raiders? What number would?
No, but like if Brady can get Pete Carroll in the building, I mean, do you guys honestly think that Pete Carroll is not going to improve the Raiders?
For the 3 years he's still going to be alive.
I think Pete Carroll improves any team he goes to coach, whether it's Vegas, Chicago. I don't know where else he's interested in, but I think he's good.
I think Chicago's out now.
What now?
So I think Chicago's out now.
I don't think
no, he just interviewed there yesterday.
That's your first mistake, trusting Brady.
I mean, here's the thing, and here's the thing. I mean, we already know this with this coaching carousel. What we
He's going to make
are normally completely opposite of the truth. They'll be coached, but I mean, Brady. I think Carroll would improve the Raiders. He'd improve the Bears if he went there. He'd improve the Jets. I don't think he'd ever go there, though.
I was going to say, I don't think anybody could improve the Jets, honestly. With the way that organization is run, they've had multiple different high-profile guys come in, and just about everybody sucks once they go there.
Rex Ryan had him in 2 straight AFC Championship games. I think Rex could go in there and improve them right now. Is he going to win them a Super Bowl? See, I think what we're talking about is the same thing, but just we're saying it differently. Like, I don't think anybody can get that franchise across the finish line to the Super Bowl, like to win a Super Bowl. But I think Rex Ryan can definitely improve them. I think the second he goes there, their defense, which is already good, is going to become top 5. And then, he's just got to get a good offensive coordinator, and he's got to fix his quarterback situation. He has a running back. He has a good receiver. Like, he needs to add some more depth or some more talent to the offense, but the defense is just fine. Like, I like Rex Ryan to the Jets. I think he's the only one that can actually turn that team around right now. Well, not the only one. Pete Carroll might be able to, but I don't think Pete's style is the same. I think the Jets need a hard-ass coach like Rex Ryan,
I think that's what it's funny.
It's the whole New York vibe.
Fucking Isaac.
You listen to players though, and that's like what players like. You listen to the exit interviews in Chicago, right? That's what the players want. They want a guy who's like going to coach them hard and not like take it easy on them. It's funny because that's what players are saying. Like, we want a coach that's actually going to like hold us accountable, kick our asses at practice every day, and hold us to some kind of standards, right? I mean, and this is what the players are saying, that not to like the GMs, but they're saying this in their to the media when the media is asking them questions about, well, what do you think about whoever the new head coach? Well, they need to be able to like be tough with us, kick our asses, and I was like, this is what they're asking for.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
I think Vrabel's probably the hardest ass coach in the cycle right now, like the toughest coach.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so he would probably be good for you guys, but I really think you guys should go with an offensive mind to try to develop Caleb and you take advantage of the weapons that you guys got and just get a good defensive coordinator.
Here it is. I found it. It took me a minute.
The comments are off the chain this morning.
All right.
Rex Ryan's playing a dementia game with Jerry Jones.
So I'm going to share this, and this is going to be just, take the subtitles out and make it Brady's first day at the Raiders office. Okay. This is from an old X post. This is Brady's first. Can I see it? Brady's first day in the office.
Jesse, how have you been?
I've been
great. I'm back, and you're fired. Hello, all. No need to run. Your fates have already been sealed. You're safe.
Oh my God.
You're safe for now. Hello, nice to see you. Who's your best client?
Jesus. I represent John and Kate Pussy.
Where are you, Davies?
All right. I'm already packing to save myself the indignity.
That's too bad.
Orange, Jesus Christ! You lost me.
That was Brady's first day in the office. You love that?
That's kind of how I envision it.
Yeah.
His feet up on Telesco's desk, and he's just sitting there waiting for him to come in. And then Telesco's like, "Hey, Tom, what can I do for you?" He's like, "No, it's about what I can do for you. Here's your last check. Your stuff. I took the liberty of packing all your stuff for you. Security will escort you out of the building."
Yeah.
See,
it would be great.
I envision Brady walking in there like the Jesse Jackson episode of South Park, pulling his pants on. All right, kiss it. Kiss it.
Are you really sorry? Are you sorry?
That video's been used for different things like that. But that's so great. Like, he just walks in with a paintball gun. Hi, I'm back. You're fired. I love it. What a way to fire. Oh, I could see Brady doing that though. Brady firing that Botox. I mean, that situation's be interesting to me. Who knows what they're going to pull out of left field? That's the thing. Like, we see like, look at, we have to feed off media reports like everyone else. It's not like any of us has an insider in the building, which, and the media is going to have its darlings, but let's face it, every time the media has its darlings, or I won't say every time, the majority of the time, the media has their darlings. It's like, and then the coach gets hired, and everyone's like, who's that? Because like they focus in on one guy, maybe two guys. And when it's someone different, especially sometimes, like look at when LaFleur was hired and Nagy were hired, right? People are like, what the hell are these guys? Right? And LaFleur worked, Nagy didn't. Nagy needed to go back and get more coaching experience, but that's what normally happens. Like they're always looking at, they're going to pick this big name, and then 9 times out of 10 sometimes they do, but a lot of times they don't. It's hilarious.
And Bill, I would laugh my absolute ass off if Brady hires Belichick as the head coach, and now Belichick has to work under him. I know it's not likely.
It's not going to happen.
There's no balls chance in hell, but I will still love it if it happens.
Look at the typical. I need to get some revenue, raised media. As soon as as soon as he signs the contract in North Carolina, all of a sudden Bill Belichick linked to this team. Bill Belichick linked, like, dude, he just signed the 5-year deal to North Carolina. He's stated multiple times that he's not going back to the NFL. That he wants to be at North Carolina. Blah blah blah.
There is one caveat to that, Ken. In his contract with North Carolina, it has an out for if he gets offered an NFL job.
I understand that, but it's funny how like
I'm just throwing that out there because it does sort of change things a bit, right? Like if the right NFL job comes along, he has
I get that. Most of these college coaches have an out in their contract for an NFL deal if one comes. But it's funny because like before Belichick signs a contract, is Belichick going to be is he being considered for an NFL team? Crickets. The second he signs a contract for the coach at North Carolina, every team that needs a coach is looking at Belichick. Like, wait a minute, why? Because he signed the contract with North Carolina? Mm-hmm. I mean,
he's at least out for the next year.
The first rumor that was out there, as soon as AP got fired, I'm serious. Like the wire was. Raiders fire AP. Raiders fire AP. Belichick linked to Raiders job. Like, come on, guys, really? There you go. Douglas says it's a $10 million buyout at UNC.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't want Belichick because I don't want Patriots West. Like, I don't think that's what's going on. I think Brady is cleaning house, but I think it's because he wants to bring something new in, something that the Raiders haven't done before. And so we'll see. I mean, time will tell with the hire, but I think it's a good sign that they're interviewing Pete Carroll next week. They've already interviewed Ben Johnson. So
did Vrabel interview with Vegas?
No, not yet. I don't know if they even have an interview scheduled with him. I know that they interviewed Ben Johnson, and they're interviewing Pete Carroll next week. I wouldn't be
surprised if Vrabel does, because look at all the team arguments you can make. Well, Vrabel will go to New England because he won 3 rings. Well, yeah, but he can also go for the guy he won 3 rings with. So I mean,
I think Vrabel to New England is, in my opinion, I think it's probably close to a done deal already. Like I think that's. The direction they want to go.
I don't know. I mean, like he interviewed with Chicago, and the word on the street is his interview. So there was some leakage on the Bears side. The interview with the guy from the OC from the Giants was meh. The OC from Arizona, I guess, was a meh interview. The experienced coaches, Vrabel, Carroll, were great. They had great plans. This, that, the other. But I don't know if Vrabel's a done deal, man. I think Vegas and Chicago might be viable options. It's funny though because Aaron Glenn turned down the request. He turned down, not the Lions. He turned down the request that the Patriots had to interview. He's not going to interview for the Patriots.
Yeah.
So Aaron Glenn said, "Nah, it's okay. I'm not going to." Dion yesterday, Douglas. I don't know if you caught what we said yesterday. Dion wants to coach. If he can coach both his sons, which means Vegas would have to get both of them. And I don't see that happening.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I don't see that. And
No,
I
thank
mean,
you.
just the odds of a team drafting both of them in the draft is just astronomically huge. They'd have to make some trades, and everyone would know what was going on. And yeah,
I don't want to trade up, to be honest with you. Like, I don't want to give up the draft capital to go get Ward or Sanders. Like, I was thinking about it, and I'd rather take like Genty or Tet McMillan in the first round at number 6, either the best receiver or the best running back in the draft, and then take Milrow in the second round, because Milrow has some ability, his accuracy that needs to be
for the
improved.
draft for like your team, for the Raiders, for the Bears, the Saints. I mean, any of the fan bases that's looking for a head coach, just like pump the brakes on your draft wish list, because your head coach is going to, dictate a lot of that in some way. Because you could get a head coach comes in and says, look, especially like a team like the Raiders or the Bears, these teams that have a lot of cap money, New England, which has the most cap money, and you get the head coach says, look, let's say your need is edge. You're going to go sign this guy. And they go get the guy that, on the draft, we're like, well, we need to draft an edge rusher. But then they're going to take care of it via free agency, because that new head coach, like, you need to go sign this free agent. And I'm happy you don't need to draft free, So, I mean, there's going to be some changes to draft boards, for these teams based on these coaches. Yeah, I mean, that's funny, though, with LeBron and his son on the same NBA roster. But that it is a father-son things have happened before, but you're talking about in the same draft, drafting brothers. Has that ever happened? I mean, it's rare enough that we get brothers in the league. It's rare when we get brothers on the same team. It does happen. Usually could be a free agency. But when was the last time, like, a set of brothers who were both probably first-round selections, right? Because his brother might be the better athlete. I mean, what are the odds of a team being able to draft both in the first round?
Next to 0.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Raiders need a top tackle at 6. Doug. I don't agree. I think Glaze has stepped in, and he's shown that he's got a lot of room to grow. And he only gave up 3 sacks last season as a rookie. So, and Colton Miller, like, he's still under contract for a couple years. Like, I wouldn't be against drafting his replacement next year. But this year, I don't think tackle is where you need to go. You need a running back. You need a wide receiver. You need one more corner. You need a quarterback. There's a lot of needs, like, specifically, skill position needs. I would take one of those guys at 6.
Bill, to your question there about the Packers looking at receivers, I'm surprised they haven't signed a receiver coming into Friday's game. I mean, it'd be hard to sign a receiver and get him, game worthy.
There you go. That's what I think.
You know what, though? I don't care, man. Like, if you got the roster spot, and I'm not going to say Odell Beckham Jr. is the guy they should have signed, but he's an example. If you got a veteran like Odell Beckham Jr., who you could sign on Monday, you could have signed on Monday and at least got into your roster to do certain things. I mean, that would have been smart for them, but then again, they might just feel comfortable with what they've got, and some teams do it, some teams don't. Like, it's easy to do with certain positions, like a running back or wide receiver. Yeah, those are 2 positions where the playbook they don't have to really know it as well as other positions. Like, you can kind of fake the funk or learn on the fly. Because with a receiver, it says, okay, here are your route. Okay. And then just go create and be the third option. Okay. So in a way, I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't, but then again, I'm not.
I'm not. If we have any change at receiver, it'll be during the off season. We're not usually too much of a team that's going to sign guys late in the year because of injury or something like that, unless it's some massively devastating injury. Yeah, we lost Christian Watson for the rest of the year, but we've got a bunch of other receivers, and it's not like Watson's production was huge and it's some glaring hole that needs to be replaced.
Fred brings up an interesting point, and it's the first for the NFL, right? They're playing a playoff game in Arizona.
Yeah, those close sources ones, I take with a massive grain of salt because unless they're going to identify themselves and say, "Hey, it's
I mean,
me,"
if you're going to
and
sign
this is
someone
what
today
we're
that's not
doing.
playing, well, if you're going to sign someone today, they're probably not playing this weekend. That's just it. You would have done it. You would have done it Monday, but yeah, moving Monday Night Football from LA to Arizona because of the fires, I get it. I think is. I mean, we've had teams play in other stadiums, like the Saints have played in Jax before, but it was not a playoff game. Is this the first playoff game that's been moved? I think it is. Um, I don't. I mean, I don't know who that benefits. It's only a short drive from LA, and people are trying to get out of LA right now, anyways. And there might be a lot of people from LA already in Arizona who have fled LA. So,
I don't think they're going to be too worried about a football game if they flood the house from the fires.
you'd be surprised because like in chaos that gives you some normalcy. It gives you a break from reality that you're
Okay.
facing. So I can see why people would flock to the game to be a respite from reality and what's going on in their lives, and if they already have tickets or whatnot, well, shit, we need to we have nowhere else to go. At least we can go enjoy something. I mean, so I mean, but it is interesting that the game is now going to be in Arizona. I think it's the first time they've done a playoff game like that. I'm wondering what the crowd is going to be like for sure. That's a tough game for the Rams, dude. Some of those players lost their houses probably. I mean, I don't know if you saw the Palisades there. Like, it looks like someone just leveled it with they dropped a Moab. Like there's nothing left.
There's been talk for a while that the firefighters of LA knew that if a fire happens to drift that way, it's going to take a lot of shit down. Yet nobody really wanted to do anything about it.
I think as of like 11 p.m. Central last night for the 4 fires, the containments were 0, 0, 0, and 6%. So they're obviously having issues out there, but some of these players are affected for sure because these are areas. Some of these areas that burn are where these players probably have their homes, like Sean McVay. I mean, he had. I don't know if he's in that affected area, but I mean, the players are affected. Some of these players are losing their homes, not just the fans. It's be interesting to see how that game on Monday is affected. Besides the fact that they've moved it from LA to Arizona.
Yeah, I see this pretty much being a Vikings home game.
All right, I looked it up, man.
Okay.
1936 was the first time that they ever moved a game. And that was the NFL championship game between the Boston, now Washington Commanders, and the Green Bay Packers. Was the first one to be held on a neutral field, something that has become a commonplace in today's game.
Okay, so that was moved for a neutral field, but this is being moved to a neutral field.
Yes, because of the wildfires, but this is the only other time. It's the second time a playoff game has ever been moved.
Wow. So one basically established the neutral field championship game.
Yep.
And then, okay.
Yep.
So
I had to look it up, bro. In 105 years,
what are we going to have in 20 years from now? Neutral field playoff games too?
I was just going to say that. Is that next?
Well, I mean, I don't think that's the case. I think that I agree. That's probably the best thing for you to do. There's a neutral site. Go to it and have a championship game. I mean, that's awesome. But I mean, just to do playoffs, no, you should have home field advantage. That's what got you your record. You played those home games. The home crowd was behind you, so the home crowd should enjoy the playoffs.
Yeah.
But as far as going to a neutral site, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and Eric, to answer your question, I expect Evan Williams to have an impact. TJ Slayton, I think it's going to be how it's been most of the year. You got a 50-50 shot with it. And Quay, I have no idea what the hell we're getting out of him.
Fred,
Cooper will be all over the field, but who knows with Quay.
Fred, there'll be Chargers fans in Houston. There will be Chargers fans in Houston. Fire notwithstanding, I'm sure there were fans who were already planning on going to Houston. For the game. I mean, teams always have the fans that'll travel. what's interesting though, like with the moving the playoff to a neutral site, like when the Saints played in Jacksonville for a couple, it was more than one home game. Yeah, I mean, look at they put butts in the seat, but it was nothing like even because like the Jags can't draw. Well, guess what? The Saints Packers didn't draw it either. Now it made it easier for Packer fans to get tickets, but I mean, when they go neutral site, I think it'll be a big crowd in Arizona because the difference here being it's a playoff game, right? Not a week one regular season game.
Well, you might get a bunch of Arizona fans going to the game so they can actually witness a playoff game.
It's a playoff game, so people will go just because it's a playoff atmosphere. It's a playoff game. It's going to be good football.
There you go.
I went last year to the Dallas game, man. The fucking electricity is in the air, bro. I mean, there's nothing like an atmosphere of playoffs, bro.
Yeah, so
I was in the enemy territory, bro. But the best part was, as I'm leaving, and me and a million other Packer fans were chanting "Go Pack, Go!" as we walk out the doors.
This is a little bit different though because no one's going into enemy territory. Well, I guess the Rams are going to enemy territory.
We're going into enemy territory. We're going into Pittsburgh.
We're talking like for this game in Arizona though.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, you're right.
I think it'll be a sellout. It'll still be a packed stadium just for the fact that it's a playoff game.
I got a random question, and I probably know that nobody's going to have the answer to it. But if a playoff game doesn't sell out, can it get blacked out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Everyone has. That's the first standard that has to be met. Yeah. That's usually not the case. They usually sell out.
However, it only gets blacked out. But this would be. I get where you're going. Like, what if this game in Arizona doesn't sell out? If it were to be blacked out, though, we would only be blacked out in the home market, which would be LA. And I think in this circumstance, they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But like for instance, let's say it was Jacksonville against Houston in a playoff game.
Yeah,
and
but this is a
reason they didn't sell out, and the game would be blacked out in Jacksonville.
Well, they're not going to black it out though because this is the only game playing at that slot. Normally, there's other games playing. That's why they black them out. I don't think there's no way in hell it gets blacked out anywhere.
I mean, it's never happened in a playoff game, but I guess technically, if it were to happen because they don't meet the criteria. The rule is it's only blacked out in the home market because the rule is set up that way so that people go to the game and they'll home to watch it, right?
Yeah, so they want the home to fill the stadium mostly is what they want.
Only the home market is affected. So Jacksonville faced that for years. Jaguars fans could not see their games on TV, whether you had season ticket or not, or if it was supposed to be on the local CBS or Fox. If the game didn't sell out, or I mean, it doesn't. I don't even think it's a sell. I think there's a criteria like 80 or 90% capacity, whatever it is. But they would be blacked out all the time. Now for the playoffs, that's never happened. I've never seen a playoff team not be able to sell tickets to their stadium. But in the regular season, the rule is, and we haven't seen this now, the Jags have been selling. But the rule is set up to basically force the local market to go to their actual home games instead of just stay home and watch it for free on TV. But it is interesting though, because Rob brings up a good point. You got some of these games like now they're on Netflix and these other streaming services, right? Like, how do you do that? Because like when you were saying, well, look, you guys didn't sell the appropriate amount of tickets, so your game's gonna be blacked out on TV. There's gonna be a TV blackout for this game in the home market. Okay, well, how do you black out Netflix in the home market?
Very easily, because of Netflix enforcing their bullshit about not being able to password share. They run your IP address and they know what physical location you're at.
But does Can Amazon do that? I mean, maybe. And can Netflix do that in a timely manner? I mean, it does with them using streamers now, like these streaming apps for the games. It kind of negates. I mean, if you're in we don't ever have. Here's the problem: we've never had a situation where the game was on Netflix and your local station. Because if it's on your local station, they would have to black out Netflix. But we've never had that. So the
NFL's getting paid by these apps, man. They have to be getting paid because there's no way
they're making good money from it.
Well,
they're getting paid, so they're saying like, "Fuck it, let's just."
They're getting paid by Fox and CBS anyways because of the TV contracts. They're already getting paid no matter who airs the game.
Yes,
the rule
these
was
streaming services are offering ridiculous amounts of money for
They
the
have to be.
able
They
host
have to be.
a couple of games versus the big package deals they get with the regular TV companies. Now it's instead of for shits and giggles, 15 games that we're airing here that we're getting paid 100 million for. We can give one of these streaming services 4 games and we can get paid 100 million for that.
Well, there's two things. The one I want to see because there was right. I have the answer. No, it's only blacked out the 50-mile radius. I don't see that getting enforced. That's what Michael said.
Yeah, I don't see that.
And then he says he has Apple Music and Detroit Tigers and Lions games are blacked out for being outside the Detroit market area. And they do that. I've seen that too, like with certain things. It's only good for your market team. And I know that
behind that, Bill.
They base it on your zip code when you sign up, but like some of these apps, you don't put your zip code in, right?
I agree, Bill.
Apple,
they all have access to your IP address. Whether or not they actually use the information is a whole nother thing. But anybody that you're sending, anybody that you're going to on the internet, they have your IP address.
Not if I'm using a VPN, they don't.
That's how you skirt by that, but a lot of people don't use a VPN.
Yeah, your average Joe is not doing that. So.
But I mean, it does bring up something we can maybe delve into in the off season a little bit, maybe for a day or so. But I don't think we're going to have that situation regardless in this playoff game. Even if they don't sell the stadium out or whatnot, A, it's a playoff game. B, it's moved from a natural disaster. They say, well, exception to the rule, because of the fires, we're not going to enforce it. And I don't think it's been enforced in the regular season in almost a decade. I don't think it's. I mean, I think the Jags were the last team to have that enforced. I mean,
yeah,
I get why they had that rule though, the blackout rule, because because fans aren't going to the game and they want to put. Yeah, they get the money. They're getting all this big money from streamers and the networks, but they also want to get the money from the stadium, from the tickets, and the jerseys, and look at the teams need to get the money from the vendors in the park. Well, in the cities need. The city of Jacksonville owns all the parking lots around the stadium.
Everybody's got a handout.
Make no money. It literally cost me more to park my car than it did to get tickets to the Jags game.
Bro, I had my son drop us off. You fight the traffic dropping us off. You fight the traffic picking us up. That's how that was. That's my Uber.
Yeah, we had our son do that for when we went to our last cruise.
Fuck that, bro.
We had our kid Uber from the airport. It was nice. That was the first time we had kid Uber. And then we took an Uber to the airport to the dock.
I had you for a reason.
Yeah, and then we took an Uber from the airport to the dock to get on the boat. It was great, man. Not having to drive to the dock and pay the parking fees at a dock to go on a cruise. It was great. Kid Uber to and from the airport.
Yeah.
It was like ordering.
Hold on. I've got some breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Deshaun Watson has ruptured his Achilles tendon again and had to have surgery Thursday to repair it. And it's looking like even if he's still somehow on the roster, he's going to miss the 2025 season.
So this is interesting, though. Is his contract up next year or no? Or is he still under contract next year?
Give me a second. I will find out. Because I never cared enough about Deshaun Watson to actually pay attention to his contract.
Wow. So, I mean, they surely going to cut bait with his ass, right?
Well, if they do,
not while he's injured.
They can't cut bait on him. But
if they agree, they can agree.
They have to give him a medical severance package of some sort. But they could cut him, but it comes with strings attached. They have to come to an agreement, and because it's based off.
It was a great game last night, Bill.
He's on there at least through 2026, and it's a team option for 27.
Holy fuck!
They could cut him, but they'd have to give him a package, and he'd have to agree to it. But here's the thing, though, too. If they keep him on I think if he goes to the IR, right, for next year, all next year, he won't count against the cap though, because he's an injury. He'd be an injury exclusion that doesn't account for the cap. We've seen that before. So, like, if he's going to miss all of next year, he'll get paid, but his salary won't count against the cap. I believe there's a medical rule.
Yeah, they that's the biggest fleecing in NFL football history, maybe.
No, there's been worse.
I mean, Russell Wilson going to the Broncos. I mean, that was pretty cool.
How much is his deal, Ken? It's not that much. He's on a rookie deal. He's not making much, is he?
Deshaun Watson.
Oh, Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, Deshaun. We're not talking about Watson on our team. We're talking about the quarterback, Deshaun Watson.
We're talking a man that signed a contract for $230 million
to play in Cleveland. It's not playing. That
So he's got 2 years left. So he's probably got $100 million left. They'll make him. I bet they'll do the.
Holy mother of God! How much was guaranteed in his contract?
They'll move him off.
The whole thing.
Oh, they guaranteed a whole.
Oh yeah. When he signed him, we knew that. But Ken, how much is left? How much is left?
2 years with a 5th-year option. Oh my
God!
No,
they redid part of it last year. They redid it.
Oh
so
my God!
Worse than you think, Rob.
Oh,
probably 40 or 50 mil a year. Yeah.
Wow. It's 26 mil a year, so about 92 million they still owe this guy.
So, but here's the thing, though, with the injury, there are rules in place where actually this is a good thing for Cleveland if they want to move off, because they can move off him and not have it. I mean, they're going to have to pay him the money, so the money's probably going to be out. But actually, they might not even have to pay all the money because of the injury. Well, depends on the contract.
Well, it's a fully guaranteed.
Right, but there's always language in the contract. Fully guaranteed is not fully guaranteed if A, B, C, or D happens. You know what I mean? So, I bet we will see something.
That contract is one of the ones that has the injury protection to where if you get a major injury,
But here's the thing, though. I don't think Cleveland Browns ownership. I mean, losing the money is one thing, but the bigger question for them isn't that we have to pay this guy $90 million over the next 3 years. The problem is going to be what's it do to our salary cap. But because it's an Achilles injury it was out for all next year, we have to look into that. But he might not count against their cap depending on how they play this. They might be able to separate Watson from this team. Sure, he might get his money, but it might not affect their salary cap.
Fucking Fred.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I think the Browns royally fucked themselves on this one because they assumed he was going to be, the Deshaun Watson from the Houston Texans. So, it's okay. We can guarantee him all that. Look how good he is. And after 2 years not playing football.
Any player, though, man. Anytime you sign a player to a big contract, man, it's always a gamble because
to me, I thought it was extra stupid because of him having the 2 years off from football in between.
Yeah. I mean, look at their case. You're right. But I mean, I love when guys, we should never sign this guy to a big contract. Well, but when we signed him to a big contract, you were happy because the guy was really good. Yeah, but then he came here and got hurt. Well, you can't predict that. That's part of the game.
No, it sucks. It's just part of the game, bro. It comes with the territory. You don't. Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is. Those fans that bitch about that, those are the fucking fake ass fans. I'm sorry. It sucks, bro.
I would not be surprised to see Cleveland moving on from Watson and now getting a break in their salary cap because of the injury. Like they'll do the whatever the rule is for that. There is a rule though that does protect Cleveland on their salary cap to a degree. So they may not get to save all 25 mil a year, but they're not going to get all of it in dead cap space. Now, if they move on from him with this injury, there is an injury protection thing for the team in their cap as well. So we'll have to see what transpires there, but we'll find out maybe next week. We'll see. Otherwise, guys, enjoy your weekend. Don't forget, tonight we've got Frozen Thunder Network at 7 p.m. Central, 8 on the East. Tomorrow we got both Viking shows. We got open mic night. We've got Sunday. We've got Red Zone Rant and House Hall. And we'll be back here again Monday morning to go over all the playoff games except Monday Night Football, of course, which we may just talk about. But enjoy football this weekend. Everyone be safe. If you're in California, in the LA area, please be safe. Hope the fires do not affect you. Have a great weekend and
go, Pack, go and kick some Eagle ass.
That's right.
Even though Ben's been saying the Eagles are going to beat them all week, but hey, whatever.